Hi everyone, and welcome to Synergy's webinar on the cybersecurity challenges in the hospitality industry. My name's Konstantin Nitsolis, and I'll be presenting the webinar today. Thanks for joining us too. I thought I'd quickly outline our agenda. For the next 30 minutes, we're going to share some tips for managing cyber risk as a hospitality business. And please stick around till the end. We will have a business IT health check offer available to all attendees today, which normally costs $660 available to you for free. Today's session has been broken up into 4 parts, and we're focusing on issues that specifically relate to SMBs and the hospitality industry. Also, please ask questions in the chat as we go along the way. We'd be happy to answer those at the conclusion of the presentation, subject to time, of course. Okay, firstly, let's start with a quick introduction and a welcome and get started. Okay, so I'd start by talking about who Synergy is. We've been around for 11 years. Our expertise is in creating tailored IT solutions for SMBs. And we really focus on specific areas that we know SMBs require additional attention in, things like identifying specific risks and deploying solutions that deal with those risks and work towards the strategic goals the businesses we work with are looking to achieve. We're specialists in managed IT services generally, but we're also specialists in cybersecurity, project management, procurement, and audit and risk. So that's a little bit about who Synergy is. A little bit about me. I've been assisting clients for about 25 years now, helping optimize their operations and using different analysis to help them with their business development and their performance more generally. I have worked with a number of different strategies of clients to help them with their analysis and their growth plans. And my biggest focus has been on using technology to help them reach a better customer experience and better growth plans. Why am I talking to you today? Well, I've got 20 odd years of experience working with clubs in the hotels industry on the Eastern Seaboard. I was a systems partner with one of the biggest providers in the country, and that's why I've come to you today to have this conversation. Okay, let's look at some of the changing impacts for all SMBs and some of the specific technology challenges that occur in hospitality. Okay, so tech challenges impact all SMBs. There are some key statistics I wanted to highlight today, just so you can understand, I guess, why we're talking about tech challenges with this market specifically. A key statistic I wanted to highlight so you understand the risk is that a cyber attack happens, is reported every 6 minutes to the Australian Cybersecurity Centre. That's over 240 reported attacks every day. Of those, what's the impact to you? Well, the impact is that over 60% of small businesses don't actually survive a data breach or cyber attack purely because of the impact it has on their business. One of the main reasons is the cost of that particular crime that's happened to them. On average, it's $45,000, whether that be to get your data back, if it's a particular type of attack, or to actually put things in place to recover from that attack. There's also some proposed legal changes that will impact everyone that we're talking to today. There are changes proposed in the Privacy Act that would mean all businesses, not just those with more than $3 million of turnover, are legally required to take steps to protect personally identifiable information that you collect as a business, and also report to all the affected parties that a data breach has occurred if it's happened through you. So there's no longer any exemptions to this. Once this proposed change occurs, every business will be required to do that. There's also some proposed changes to the Cybersecurity Act, which will require business to disclose ransomware payments or face hefty fines for not doing so. And what this really is often when your system is hijacked, you're required to make payments in order to get access to your system back. And those will need to be reported now as a legal obligation if those changes go through. Look, our recommendation is stay updated with all the changes that are occurring and keep updated in the press about where they're at as we navigate this changing landscape moving forward. So what are some of the tech challenges impacting hospitality specifically? And there's many, and we know that you've gone through much change technologically post-COVID or through COVID as well. But as an example, let's talk about next month. Australia is actually decommissioning the 3G network. This network has been relied on for decades to run FPOS terminals, POS systems, and a whole bunch of other connections or technologies that are used through the hospitality industry generally. So, hopefully your FPOS and POS providers have let you know that they've updated their systems, and that won't be something that you'll be impacted by on the 1st of September. But there are a whole bunch of other technology changes that have occurred in your business that you've had to adapt to. What do they include? Well, online apps and services. During COVID, food delivery became the preferred way to do business, and you needed to be able to do that in a way that was technologically acceptable. And this has flowed on now, right? Whether it be people ordering food using QR codes within your venues, whether it be reservations or booking systems, even hotel keys are now all using different apps and different technologies to make the service more optimized. Contactless payment, tap and go. That really exploded through COVID and post-COVID, and it hasn't really changed. Most people now prefer to use their phones or a card to tap and go and pay, and these are all things that had to be scaled and introduced through your businesses moving forward. And the Internet of Things being something that's a little bit more broad and more popular in terms of creating efficiencies within your site or your business. Think of things like lights turning on automatically, or thermostats working at a particular temperature, or smart mirrors being activated at different points when they pick up contact. These are all technologies that are adding value to your business or efficiencies to your business as you go forward. But with all technology, there also comes some other things that you need to consider, which is to securely protect them from breaches or from disruption. Some other challenges that I wanted to bring up that might not be as straightforward as what we discussed there are things like seasonal workforces, or the changing of a workforce within a hospitality business that occurs. We know that there were staff shortages coming out of 2021 and 2022, and obviously there's turnover that occurs, and we feel that this is a tech challenge because new staff need to be onboarded to understand what their requirements are with the technology that you introduce, and that's something that we'll talk a bit later on about what challenges that might bring to you as a business moving forward to deal with the possible risks that occur with your technology. Dirty networks. Think of this as the Wi-Fi service that you might offer, the fact that it's often introduced, whether it's free Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi to business guests, etc. When this occurs, we normally install the network and let it run, but we need to also be thinking about what risks occur here if we're not keeping it up to date and monitoring and patching it for any possible vulnerabilities that become known as different things occur around the world. And POS systems, this is the bread and butter of how you keep your business running and collect your revenue. And we know that this is also something that's vital to all hospitality businesses, but is also something that needs to be kept up to date and no vulnerabilities occur, given it's collecting a lot of data from people's credit cards, etc. as well. That's a summary of some of the tech challenges as we see it impacting hospitality right now. We also know that on a regular basis, I can't even recall the last week that I didn't see something in the news about a data breach or a particular scare in this space. It seems to be happening more and more, and it seems to be getting more and more press. And we're not just talking about the bigger breaches that occur, whether it be Optus or Medibank or anything of the like, but these breaches are actually occurring in this industry, in your industry. Whether it's Clubs New South Wales having data breached from members, or the Marriott having data breached of their guests and patrons, it seems to be occurring on a more and more regular basis as cyber criminals see that there's money to be made in stealing data or accessing systems that collect data that they believe is useful to other people or to your business. Okay, so let's have a look at what some of the top cyber threats in the hospitality industry are, and break them down for you so you've got a better understanding about what they might be and where they might be coming from. And then also ask some questions that you might want to ask, within your business so that you can take the right precautions to make sure that you're not an easy target, if that makes sense. Okay, so malware is something that we often talk about and is really a primary threat to small businesses and a genuine threat to the hospitality industry as a whole. We know that malware can infiltrate networks and actually be used as a way to not only get in, but also steal data and disrupt services on a regular basis, causing significant financial loss. Now, malware takes a number of different names, which we've listed there, and I'll go through now. Ransomware. This is really what I mentioned or touched on briefly, which is encrypting the data within your environment or your systems, and then asking for you to pay a ransom in order to get access back. Once they've gotten in and actually locked down your data, it's very difficult to get back. So your options are basically to either pay the ransom that they're asking, or rebuild your system, and obviously have systems in place that allows for that to happen fairly quickly, whether it be backups or redundancy plans from there. Spyware is slightly different, and this is where something gets installed onto your device or within your system and then looks to move around undetected so that they can pick up your activities within your device or your systems and then use that to their benefit. So think about things like logging the passwords you're typing into your laptop or personal device, and then using those passwords to get into your banking or your systems or whatever it might be that you try to access there, and then taking action once they've got the details they need. And viruses is one that's been around for ages, and we all know. And this is really where we where viruses infect your computer, and then file by file just slowly bring down your whole system until it cripples you and you can't move forward from there. And these are all forms of malware, if that makes sense. Okay, some other threats, and the other big threat is data breaches, and the one that we hear most about. And data breaches can really have devastating consequences on your business, leading to hefty loss of customer trust, as well as hefty fines, depending on how they've been managed, both before and after it's occurred. Nearly 31% of hospitality organisations have actually reported a data breach. But more importantly, of these 31% of hospitality organisations that have reported this breach, 89% of them have actually said that they've been affected more than once in a year. So the big takeout for me is that if you're a target and if they find a way to breach your data, they'll come back because I think it's easy for them to consistently get back in and take advantage of the information that you have access to. There are a number of common causes for data breaches that I wanted to touch on, right? One could be inadequate security, right? It could just be a failure to have the right security protocols in place that actually prevent it from being easy for a data breach to occur. Another one, which I touched on briefly, is unpatched software. You don't want to leave your software or even your hardware not on the latest version that's available, which actually is designed to deal with the vulnerabilities that are known and be exploited in a way that's known and used across the system. And finally, employee negligence. You don't want to have an employee that doesn't know your processes and procedures properly and what impact that might have on accidentally exposing sensitive information, anywhere on the, for anyone to take advantage of. And again, things to think about here are things like staff using ChatGPT on a work device, not knowing that might expose everything that's on that device to other people in a free network that ChatGPT used to take advantage of. Excuse me. Some other cyber threats that I thought I'd touch on. Phishing. Phishing is a big one because this is really used to create impersonation attacks. So what cyber criminals might do here is actually intercept business emails that are being sent to you, or you sending out to people like your suppliers and customers, and then use the information on there to impersonate you and ask suppliers to pay invoices to different bank accounts that they've had changed. So you need to think about how you got the right process in place to not allow this to happen. And denial of service and physical security is where you're actually keeping data on your site, on things like servers, etc., and actually having the right protections in place, or the right procedures in place to be able to deal with on-site data versus cloud-based data, which we tend to use a little bit more now, that you need to think about moving forward. So how does a cyber breach actually impact your business? Guest satisfaction and client satisfaction is of utmost importance in the hospitality industry, and really holds an important element of repeat visitation and repeat customer, the recurring customer, strategy that a lot of hospitality business employ to grow their business and keep moving forward. So just think about implementing security measures that protect your business, as a non-negotiable if you don't want to be impacted by a number of different things that would happen if you were to have a data breach or have your client data exposed through something that you've done. A reputational damage is the really obvious one here for you to consider. Customers that have had their data exposed through something that's occurred in your business may not be likely to come back and revisit you or come back to use your services again. And obviously that has a financial impact to you as well. But you need to also consider that revenue loss is not just through the loss of reputation or repeat business. It's also in you having to deal with fixing the problem that's occurred through a breach or through a security event, as well as the fines that might go with it if you haven't taken the right actions in the first place to prevent that from occurring or from reporting it properly as well. Obviously, operational downtime is something that we all understand. If you have to close your doors while you deal with these problems so you can start to, take money for your services again through EFTPOS or through your POS, or whether it's actually just to get access to your systems so that you can, move forward as a business, you can see how operational downtime would have a really detrimental effect to your business, having to close your doors for a period of time. At Synergy, based on demand that we were getting from our clients, we were asked to put together, some sort of guide that can help businesses understand what questions they should be asking or what actions they should start thinking about taking in order to properly protect, their IT environment within their business, to make sure that this is a difficult thing to occur to them and manage their risk effectively. And as a result of that, we put together a 5-question guide that I'd like to take you through today and actually make available to you once we've completed today's session. I'll start at the beginning, and we're going to touch on a lot of themes I've already touched on, but please bear with me here. Number one, does your business collect any sensitive customer data? So we need to know if you're actually collecting any data that needs protecting and has responsibilities around it. And once you've identified this, you need to identify where you're storing the data so we know what environment we actually need to protect as well, or what environment you need to protect as well. Our advice would be to only collect data that you really need. The less data that you're collecting, the less personally identifiable data you need to protect as well. And keep devices and software updated so you know that any known security weaknesses are being patched and properly dealt with, so it's not easy for sensitive data to be exposed. Number two, where do you collect or where do you conduct your business? You need to think about setting up security software at the place that you conduct your business and on all the devices that might be exposed to that. But in a changing world, we also know that as owners, you might want to access some of this information remotely, and you might have staff that require to do that as well. So think about what environments you need to protect beyond just the place that you conduct your business, because this is something that is changing, and you need to think about how you can block any malicious actions from other environments that might be accessing your work environment as well. Number 3, do you trust your employees' awareness and knowledge around cybersecurity? So again, we've talked about staff, or as we call it, the human layer. This is often the one that is hardest to protect and the one that needs a little bit more work in order to make sure that they understand the responsibilities around protecting your data and your clients' data more effectively, to make sure that they don't become the weak point in your plan. So you need to establish a strong culture of security, make sure that passwords are strong, the proper policies are in place, and they've all been onboarded, all your staff have been onboarded, understanding what those policies are, and educate the team on what to look out for, so they can speak up if they see something that's not right, and you can take action quickly with that. Make sure your processes and rules around policies are clear, and how to handle and protect data is very clear for them as well. Which really comes down to inducting the staff in the right way. 4, what would a cyber breach or security incident actually cost your business? So we ask clients to think about how a cyber attack would actually impact their business, and look at it from a low, medium, or high impact rating, if that makes sense. And I've listed some questions there that we often ask in our process, which is just about, how would a breach affect your day-to-day operations? Would it stop your business, or would you be able to function somehow, or have a plan in place to be able to continue to function somehow while you work out how to get your business back up to 100% of operations? What would it cost to recover from an attack? And what is the reputational risk around having a breach occur that you then need to notify all your clients and guests about moving forward, impact your business? And how would the risk actually affect your IT environment as a whole? And that's really, I guess, something that you need to think about, how you manage in its entirety, not just around the customer service elements. And finally, as a flow-on from that, is what existing practices or IT solutions do you actually have in place? Again, many of you will have an IT provider. You should just have the conversation about how you can better secure your business with them. And if your IT provider don't feel like they've got the expertise around cyber protection, speak to an IT provider that does, and just talk about what their cyber incident plan might be, and what are some of the things that you can put in place to help you just enhance your security further, so that you're not an easy target that people, that the cyber criminals keep coming back from. I've put a QR code there where you can download our 5-question guide and maybe share it amongst the team and your staff internally, so that you can start to ask these questions and maybe put something together that's really easy to understand for you and easy to digest for your staff moving forward. That QR code will be available post this session if you can't quite get it now. Okay, finally, I thought I'd talk about Synergy and how we help our clients and our customers with the content that we've just covered today. From our point of view, we've got solutions in place that monitor and manage IT environments for our clients on a regular basis. In fact, it's constantly doing it 24 hours a day automatically. It also automatically picks up where security patching and upgrades are required, and where devices aren't on the latest version, so that there's no easy ways in, if that makes sense as well. We also provide protection and solutions around protection. We've put partnerships in place with the right security providers to just make sure that we're protecting all your stuff and all your systems, regardless of where access is being required. And we think about that in terms of device protection, account protection, people protection, if that makes sense. We're happy to talk to you about what that looks like moving forward. We focus on risk points. So we try and limit the amount of opportunities there are for people to click on wrong emails or access, suspicious websites, etc. And then focus on helping you with the education piece moving forward, so that your staff know what to look out for. And the key one for us is we're flexible, right, in terms of helping partners or clients work with their environment that they've created to make sure they're working efficiently and providing the protection that's required there. That might be remote working, it might be locations, it might be working to a particular budget to provide biggest bang for buck in terms of the protection as well. All things that you should, consider asking your IT provider as well. Excuse me. And finally, I'm going to come back full circle and say we're happy to offer all attendees or people that take the time to go through our presentation today a free business IT health check. So if you don't have an IT provider you can reach out to, please feel free to reach out to us. It's worth $660 for us to do these IT health checks, but we're happy to offer it for free to anyone that's gotten this far into the presentation and is happy to hear us out. Just so we can give you a bit of a start on your journey to be able to provide better security in your environment and to all your staff in the environment that you've created, so that you're not an easy target moving forward. Finally, I'd like to thank everyone for listening today and for taking the time to go through our session. I also like to thank Paddle for making this happen on this platform and giving us and inviting us along to give us the opportunity to share some of the knowledge that we've taken on board to around cybersecurity and how we can help you protect your business better.
That's fantastic, Con. Thank you so much. And I know that there are many people who've identified feeling quite concerned that they're not across their cyber requirements. With every registration in Ignite Hospital, they complete a survey form and it's coming up again and again. So this has been extremely helpful, and I know it's something that people will refer to. We've got a couple of questions, Con, that you might be able to answer. One which is, just bear with me, a little long. What is the risk factor or risk vector when the industry has significant reliance on handoff of key data from tech platform to tech platform to complete the total user experience? So where there's not one single end-to-end tech platform, e.g. venue booking, parking, payment, delivery, reorder, rebook. Does that heighten risk? What can you talk about that at all? Like how does a business that's using multiple solutions to effectively patch together an end-to-end user experience manage the risk around cyber in that instance?
Yeah, absolutely. So the short answer to that is it could actually enhance security, but it could also not, right? And it really depends on the actions and the policies you put in place in your business to deal with them. And what do I mean by that? Each one of those solutions that have been highlighted in that question will have some sort of security protocols embedded into its solution, or it should. And it's a question that you need to ask as one of their clients to make sure that that's occurring. But what you're then doing is you're then bringing those solutions all together to provide a unique offering that you're putting forward to the marketplace, and that's why you're using them all. And that's really what I was talking about today. You need to protect your environment and how that information comes together, or at least show that you're taking the right steps to protect your environment so that you can better manage that risk for you, if that makes sense, in your business. They all play a role, but at the end of the day, you're the one capturing the data that's unique to you, and you're the one that's going to have the responsibility to make sure it's protected. You'll be able to go back to each of those providers and ask them what they've done. My advice is be proactive. Ask them now about what's occurring and what protections are in place, and then look at a third party to come in and kind of do a sanity check, if that's the right word, to be able to say, yes, you put these in place. Yes, multi-factor works on these particular items, but maybe some things you need to consider is how can third parties help take away the sole onus being on one provider so that if you're breached in one area, your whole environment's not compromised.
And a follow-up question from Mark on I suppose a related point. You know, is there an end-to-end platform out there that hospitality can use that has the best kind of cyber protection?
Yeah, so there's two parts to that question. What I would say is if you're looking to protect your environment, right, there's a number of different solutions. I'm happy to talk to Mark about that, offline, that you can go to. But I break it down, and there's 7 key layers that you need to think about, which we didn't touch on today because I thought it might have been information overload. But you need to think about, how do I protect my network? How do I protect my accounts? How do I protect the users within each of those environments. And then from there, you can start to talk about your hardware protection, additional software protection, your cloud protection, et cetera, et cetera. But the three key layers that you need to think about is what traffic is coming in that could potentially cause a breach for me. Yes, there's a number of different solutions you can do there. We often call them firewalls. Firewalls protect you physically. You now need to consider virtual firewalls because you're not always in one place that a physical piece of hardware can protect you from. Your accounts are normally things like your emails, et cetera, that need protection that you then create for each staff member within your business. And there's a different set of protections that you need to consider there that go well beyond, I guess, antivirus software, if that makes sense. And then there's the network protection, right? Or the server protection, which is how do I protect data I'm keeping on site versus in the cloud? And again, there is no one solution. Synergy have tried to create bundles that do that. Again, talk to your IT provider about whether they've got a bundle that they can provide you for solutions. It is something a lot of the vendors are doing now, and should be something that your partner should be able to work with you with to be able to achieve, if that makes sense. Now, having said that, that's your physical environment. For all the third-party sites, I've already touched on the fact that they should already have those in place. Otherwise, they probably shouldn't be in your business.
Right. And Mark is very appreciative of your informative responses there, Con.
Thanks, mate.
And there's also another helpful comment from, I think, one of your team suggesting that there's there will be an activity which will be that's in the workspace, in the Ignite Hospital workspace, which is an interview with Tom Rose. I've actually watched that myself. It's incredibly informative. I never thought I'd be sitting there riveted to listening to Tom Rose talk about cyber for such a long time, but it was a really engaging conversation. I learned a lot about it, so I would recommend that too. I'm going to ask a couple of cheeky questions here, Con. These have come from the ones that plagued me, but also have actually come through our survey data. And one is, should a hospitality company have cyber insurance? You know, because it's very expensive. I understand there's a little bit of a catch in terms there that that the insurance isn't actually for yourself, but for the third parties who you impact. So, question about that. And secondly, how do you budget for cyber protection? Like, what sort of allocation? Is there some metric or something you can give us that might help a business understand what they should be spending every year on protecting their business?
Okay, so I'll deal with the cyber insurance question first, Dom. Look, it really depends on how much protection you're looking, or how much insurance you're looking to introduce into your business. But I have been told from a number of insurance brokers that it's becoming more and more a very specialist niche offering in the insurance industry, and less players are actually taking it on. So I think that gives some context about, I guess, how that industry is moving and how they see insurance playing out in that space. But one of the key things everyone I've spoken to tells me is, in order to get cyber insurance for your clients or for the damage caused to your guests, etc., not yourself personally, you need to answer a questionnaire or tick a bunch of compliance boxes of what you've put in place. And that box at the moment is constantly growing. So initially, what you had to do was show that you had installed some antivirus software. Then if you're a physical business, you had to install a firewall, so you were filtering out some of the nasties. All of a sudden now, the questions are being a little bit more detailed. What kind of data do you collect? Where is that data hosted? What are you doing to protect that data? And questions of the like, which has prompted a lot of people reaching out to us and saying, how do I actually tick these boxes and put the right things in place? So is it worth it? Yeah, it depends on your business and the data that you're holding that you need to protect, and how big your guest list or client list is as well, right? Because all those things will play a role in, I guess, how big the financial impact will be. And you need to, balance one off the other. But, I mean, I would never not insure my home, my car, myself, from any damage or cause. I think this is just another question you need to ask yourself as a business moving forward. In terms of a budget, it really depends, right? And it depends on a number of factors, because all the big technology players in this space really look at how big you are as a business and then price you according to how many people they're looking to deploy the solution to. And as a result, we've got no choice but to obviously do something similar. The one thing that we have worked tirelessly with our big partners, Microsoft, Cisco, Kaseya and Datto, has been to make them understand that when we talk to small businesses, we understand that there is a lot of cost pressures, operational cost pressures that constantly are being applied, and that we need something that's going to work for them and is something that is small enough for them to be able to bite off on a regular basis without having a huge material impact to their business. So, if I can give some context there, if you're, a small startup with, 2, 3, 4, 5 employees, you can start putting protection in place for as little as $100 a month. And if you're a business that has, a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand of users, obviously that's going to be a lot more significant to you and something that we'd have to go back to the particular vendors to get price specifically. But if we talk about how do we protect all your employees' laptops when they work from home or a cafe or out on site, that's something that we can actually introduce very effectively and cost efficiently for most businesses that we've dealt with. And we've rolled this out to 100 odd businesses, over our time. And then from there, what the discussion needs to be is what additional layers do you need, right? Do you want greater email protection? And if that's the case, we can come up with a couple of options that help you with that. And then give you a price that's once for all the solutions that you want to deploy. And I think that's the kind of thing that you would need to talk to your IT provider about or talk to us about.
It's great, Con. We have another question from Sarah, who's asking, with the offer from Synergy, would you include a cyber insurance recommendation? Any experience after an IT health check to include with the solution for rebuild? So they're kind of two separate questions.
Yeah.
You might be stepping into financial advice there, so probably I'll let you answer that question.
I can answer that question. So the answer to the first part of that question is we have people that we can put you in touch with that are specific cyber insurance specialists. Right. And they will be able to map out for you what you need to think about. Having said that, we've got no drama sharing with anyone what that might look like. It's just we can only tell you what it looks like technically in your IT environment. In terms of getting your cyber insurance, that's something you need to speak to an insurance specialist about, and we can put you in touch with someone. Any experience after an IT health check to include with a solution for rebuild? Yes, we do have experience here. It really depends on your environment and what we find. We ask for a little bit of access, but it's just reader access. It's not to do anything, just for us to understand what you've got set up and what exists there, and then make recommendations from there. Now, for the rebuild part, I touched in our presentation on something around, being able to get back on your feet quickly if you happen to suffer an attack. And there are things that we will recommend in that space for you to be able to rebuild or get back on board quickly. One of the big ones that we focus on is making sure all your systems, all your accounts are backed up, right? A backup solution isn't very cost prohibitive and is something that everyone on this presentation should consider, or at least look into seriously, purely because if you're backing everything up, whether it's real time or next day or whatever it might be, you're in a situation where you can get that data back without you having to then go spend tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to have access reopened to you because you've been locked out in some form or another. And really, your IT provider, if you've got things backed up, should be able to work tirelessly with you to get you back up and running very quickly. we've had this occur to clients, right, in the past. And as a result, we've put together a cyber response plan that has made us very efficient to do this. That's a conversation you should be having with your provider. It's a conversation we're happy to have with you as well.
It's extremely helpful, Con. I think this is going to be the beginning of many conversations with Synergy about, Lay also says, thank you very much, about cyber. It's a topic that's coming up and up again. And as also just in the first 2 days or day and a half of the kickoff of Ignite, Hospotech is coming up as a major growth area for this sector. And with that, of course, comes cyber risk. Thank you so much. This has been extremely informative. Thank you for making the time, and we'll look forward to working with you throughout the year, helping people better understand cyber with the help of Synergy.
Thank you, Don. Thanks for having us. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you.